Hey everyone, History Mystery Man here, coming to you today from Walton, Indiana. I want to thank all my YouTube followers. Please like, share, subscribe, and all that stuff. What am I doing here? Well, Lewis Cass Junior and Senior High School helped produce one of the greatest minds in all of sprint car racing. That would be the USAC Sprint Car all-time feature winner. We're talking about Dave Darland, who graduated here in 1985, class of about 80 people. That's it, that's all. But it's always interesting to me because I've always believed that the greatest race car drivers in the world are the smartest. They got it going up here, so thanks to Lewis Cass Junior and Senior High School for producing one of the best. Maybe we should call it Dave Darland High School or something, or at least Dave Darland Way, Dave Darland Avenue. Give me something. Anyway, I'm going to give you something today. We're going to talk to Dave Darland, an exclusive interview. Please enjoy. Welcome to the home of the all-time USAC Sprint Car feature winner. Ooh, cool. Looks like an old restored farmhouse out in the middle of nowhere here in Atlanta, Georgia. Make that Atlanta, Indiana. Oh, Lord. D for Darland. Hey, it's me. That's okay. I gotta say hi to. Hey, Baxter. How you doing, buddy?
Here, Baxter.
I love dogs.
Do you?
Yeah, heck yeah. Who doesn't love dogs? I don't care if he jumps on me. That's what dogs are for.
That's what he does.
Hi, Dave. I'm Don Radeball. Nice to meet
Hi,
you.
Don. Good. How are you?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Good.
I love the old farmhouse.
This is the old farmhouse.
God.
We've lived here for the last 7 or 8 years.
7 or 8 years?
Yeah.
How did you ever get here? I mean, how does one come to own a farmhouse out in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, I just stumbled across it.
Really?
Yeah, we was looking for a place down this way because my wife lives, she works, a half hour from here, and where we used to live up north of Kokomo, it was like an hour and 10-minute drive
Okay.
each way. So we was looking for a place, this side of Kokomo, and I was working for Lynn Reed, the Honda dealership in Kokomo at that time, and I was coming down here to pick up a motorcycle for him to repair down here in Atlanta, which is another 2 miles to the east of us. And I drove by here, and this house was for sale. And like I say, we were looking for something in this area, so we called them and made the arrangements and bought this.
I was going to ask you if you had ever had a job outside of racing. I mean, I know you've been sort of a full-time racer, but you're probably one that supplemented your racing career with other stuff along the way.
Yeah, on occasion.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of full-time jobs back in, when I first out of high school. I worked in a slaughterhouse up in...
Seriously, you worked in the slaughterhouse?
Yeah.
Where was that at?
In Logansport. Up.
Oh my God. So what did you do? Did you actually slaughter pigs?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
It was an assembly line.
Now that's a story.
I had to keep my knife sharp. I did that for 8 years. Worked on the...
Oh my God, but pigs are so cute.
It was a big slaughter factory. We did a lot of work there, and I worked there for 8 years. And
is it still there?
it's under that's how I lost that job. I was becoming a full-time racer at that time anyway. So my job was on the
man. That's like an old 1932 ring too. It fits the house very well. Look at this house. Oh my God, it's incredible. Look at the woodwork. This one goes way back. This is right up my alley. Wow, I really love this house. I guess, yeah, that's sort of a balance. Do I want to slaughter pigs or be a professional race car driver?
Yeah,
okay.
Like I say, that was right out of high school. I started there when I was 17 and worked there for 8 years, and that was my basically my only full-time job. I worked for Mike Jarvis that owned Franklin Power, and he owned my Silver Crown car. He was partners with Galen Fox on that 56 Silver Crown car for years, and so I worked for him up at the Grissom Air Force Base for about 7 or 8 years as well. And then he sold all that business to Delco Ramey bought him, so I lost that job at that point. But I've always had a little part-time or a small job to supplement, like you said.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. Do you have any idea how old the house is?
Yeah, it was built right around the 1900s, so
Turn of the
it's like,
century.
yeah, early. It's a seems like it was like an built 1907 or something like that.
1900 something, huh?
Yeah, it was an O something.
It's it was know something. It's really interesting.
Yeah,
It's really cool. Okay.
right there was my little collection of trophies and pictures and things that I.
Now wait a minute. This is your collection of trophies and pictures. Now don't tell me you don't have more trophies than what I'm looking at here. I know better.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is just my stuff I drug out. I mean, this here Steve Stroud Memorial Race out in Phoenix too. That was Canyon Speedway, I believe.
Out from
Steve,
Phoenix? That's cool.
Yeah, Steve Stroud was a big supporter of mine through the. He had a museum out there, the Racers Advantage Store Museum, and
That's awesome.
he was a great guy for me and sprint car racing for many years. He did just die. That was the first memorial race for him back about 4 years ago, and I was able to win the first memorial race. That was a great moment.
Oh, what is that? That's a neat, Doug Wolfgang, Sammy Swindell, and Steve Kinzer, the big three.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep, I just ran across that while I was digging some stuff out. So
That's a neat shot though.
yeah, that's a cool poster.
That is cool.
I should have
That's
all
very
them sign
cool.
it while they still can.
Yeah, no kidding. What's this old Tiger helmet?
That's my first ever helmet.
You gotta be kidding me.
I wore that when I was 4 and 5 years old.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
Wow.
Yeah, you can really
That was a quarter midget helmet?
Yeah.
Oh my God. What's the Tiger reference?
Well, anyway, Ray Kinnons was my dad's one of my dad's favorites, and he always called me Tiger when my dad would take me to the pits after the races and go see Ray. Ray would call me Tiger.
That's neat that you saved that old helmet.
Yeah, that's my first ever.
From your quarter midget, you were like 4 or 5 when you were wearing that.
Yep.
That is so cool.
So that was I wore that in 1771, so it's been however long, 50 years now.
Have you actually saved all your trophies?
Oh, well, most of them, yeah.
You really? Where are they at?
They're up in my top of my garage.
Oh my God. I can only imagine.
They're just in storage, really.
Right,
now.
right.
Those are my trophies up there from winning the Oval Nationals. All 3 of them. I was able to win the Oval Nationals 3 times, and
Where's that at? Where is the Oval Nationals?
that's in Paris, California.
Oh.
Yeah, the Oval Nationals in Paris.
Would that have been USAC sanctioned non-wing stuff?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, they were all non-wing USAC sprint car races, and anyway, they had a big sponsor for a few years. It paid big money, and then they've had it's been off and on for the last 10 years as far as what it pays to win or the purse.
How does that work anymore? Back, my stepdad had USAC sprint cars back in the, the Larry, Gary, Raleigh, Beal era of the 1960s and early 70s.
Yeah.
And back then it seemed like the standard rate of pay was like the owner kept 40%, the driver got 40%, and the chief mechanic got 20%. Now, I don't know if that was good across the board, but is that a similar formula to what they may use today, or is it just based on who the heck you're driving for?
No, it's pretty. I always run on that same percentage. I usually either ask for 40 or 50% to drive, and then we go from there. But the owner, he usually gets 40, 50, or 60%, and then it's up to him whether he wants to pay like the mechanic. A lot of it's 10 or 20%, as you mentioned. About what the mechanic or some of the team gets.
Have you ever been on any kind of a salary?
No,
it was always.
Some of them are doing that these days, but I never have myself. No.
It's like a sales position. There's more incentive to run up front when you get a percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that would change things a bit. Maybe.
Yeah.
Not really. When you get out there driving a race car, it's all just race. You don't never.
You forget all about it. It's not about the money at that
You
point.
never think about it's. $100 to pass this car. You have to pass them all. So.
I get it. It's always so interesting to me to learn where people come from. that little tiny box here in Lincoln, Indiana, population maybe 100, produced one of the greatest open wheel racers of all time. Dave Darland grew up here with his 3 older sisters and parents for 24 years. Dave Darland lived here in Lincoln, Indiana, just north of Kokomo. But I mean, this tiny little establishment, there's like nothing here, not a town square, not a thing. I'm sure there's lovely, wonderful families who love each other here, but I mean, we're talking population, I don't know, 76 or something like that. But this is just always amazing to me that this little tiny place on earth produced one of the greatest sprint car drivers that ever lived here in Lincoln, Indiana, along Walnut and Center Street. I mean, come on, shouldn't this be Dave Darland Way or Dave Darland Boulevard or something? Give me a sign that says Dave Darland once lived here, born and raised. Unbelievable. You know, growing up in Lincoln, Indiana, you know, population 100, if that. I mean, so if you live in Lincoln, you for fun, you go to Kokomo, or do you invent your own fun because you're in Lincoln?
Well, we invented a lot of fun. We made up some games where all of us kids would play, and you know, kickball or baseball, or we had a big field there in Lincoln that there was an empty grass lot that we played all the games on. So that was great for us to have that spot to use. And you know, like I said, riding dirt bikes and snowmobiles and chasing girls.
As isolated as Lincoln, Indiana is, it seems like a fascinating place to grow up because, you know, you didn't have all the entertainment options. You kind of got creative and made your own, and I think that makes for a better human down the road.
I do too. Yeah, it was great growing up there and that style, and had a couple of little creeks nearby that we'd play in, chase crawdads and fish.
Man, that's like Tom Sawyer Huck Finn adventure. That's what that is.
That was my life.
That's cool. I love it.
When I was a kid too, we'd raise a few animals to butcher and have between the families. Me and my uncle Don, that lived next door, our family and his family would raise a few cows and pigs and butcher them every fall and fill the freezers.
Wow.
It was a great life. I enjoyed growing up that way, but it was pretty backwoods and Huckleberry Finn style.
I love it. That's perfect. That's Americana. And I know you went to the big city for fun too. Kokomo, the big city, right?
Yeah, like I said, Kokomo, Logosport, and Peru.
Yeah, we're the ones.
Peru were all, you know, within 20 miles away.
Like if you went to the movies or something, you had to go to Kokomo.
Kokomo was the main place.
Yeah.
Kokomo had a couple of movie theaters and restaurants, and you know, just go there for the city life.
Yeah, Kokomo is a pretty little town. I went to the square, and it's really nice, really clean, and I think they're doing a really good job of it. It's awesome.
Yeah, Kokomo's a good little town, and they fixed it up pretty good here recently. They've done a lot of give it a little facelift.
I can tell. When they introduce you and on the track now at Kokomo Speedway, from Kokomo, Indiana? This is Dave Darland.
No, it's Lincoln.
They do call you from Lincoln.
Yeah.
Even USAC does?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
I gotta give them some credit for that. I thought you just were a Kokomo guy, but
yeah.
Because if you look it up on Wikipedia, it says Kokomo.
Does it?
But when your entry list through the years have said Lincoln?
Yep. Even my T-shirts today still say from Lincoln, Indiana.
That is cool. That is cool.
We always make sure that's
good right now. Hey, Baxter, how you doing, buddy? I know. You're lucky I like dogs. You know that? You're a good-looking dog too.
Baxter's his name.
I love him. What kind of dog is he?
He's a Boston Terrier.
Boston Terrier?
He's my little buddy.
Terriers are great dogs, aren't they?
Yeah, he's a little Boston Terrier. He's
a good boy. So where did the racing thing happen for you? Where'd you get the bug? Is it because you lived by Kokomo Speedway and Gas City Speedway? Was it Quarter Midgets? How did this happen for you?
Yeah, it was my dad. You know, it's all my dad's fault.
Yeah.
He was a race fan. You know, before I was born, and he was like 32, I think, or 33 when I was born. So I was the last of the kids. You know, I have 3 older sisters, and so I was the last of his kids. So he was always a race fan, and he worked in a factory there in Kokomo, and when I was born and getting 4 or 5 years old age, you know, he learned that the Kokomo Quarter Midget track was out on the east side of Kokomo, so we went out and visited that a couple times, and then he decided that I should be a race car driver. So when I was 4 years old, we bought our first Quarter Midget and went out there and practiced every day. We was out there all the time.
So did he want it more than you did initially?
Yeah, I'd say so. You know, I was 4 years old. I didn't
I get it.
didn't know if I wanted to be a race car driver or, you know, I wanted to just play at that time.
Sure.
But, you know, he put me in the Quarter Midget when I was 4 years old out there in a Quarter Midget at the track, you know, making laps, and we did that a lot. And when I was 5, you had to be 5 even back then. I think that's the case today too. So, but when I turned 5 though, we started Quarter Midget racing and did that for 10 years until I was 15, and then we sold all the Quarter Midget stuff and bought us a sprint car when I was 15. The day I turned 16, we started racing sprint cars that next weekend.
Which would have been where?
Racing sprint cars that next weekend.
Which would have been where?
Well, our first outing was at Kokomo.
Yeah.
It didn't last long. And then we went racing at Bunker Hill the next weekend and did okay. I ran second my first feature out there. It was just an exhibition race. They had 8 cars. Wasn't a big deal, but ran second my first feature out there at Bunker Hill, but that was kind of the end of the summer, and I turned 16 in September. So at the end of the summer for 1982 was that year. So 1983 spring, we started racing at Warsaw on Saturday nights and Kokomo on Sunday nights, and that was our gig for about 5 years. We did that for the Warsaw closed down like in 1987 after you know, it was on a really nice lake, had some really expensive houses around it, and the neighbors didn't really like us stirring up dust and noise every Saturday night, so they got it closed down. So we started going to Putnamville then on Saturday nights, and Putnamville and Kokomo on Saturday and Sunday was our gig, and you know, Gas City too on occasion. We wasn't a regular at Gas City every week because it was on Friday night. My dad was still working, and so Saturday and Sundays was our thing for a long time. But we eventually started going to Gas City every Friday night or for a few years.
Is your dad still alive?
No.
Okay. Yep.
No,
gotcha.
He died in 2002.
But he was the guy that got Dave Darland in the driver's seat.
He is, yep.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was a race car driver before I even knew I wanted to be.
That's interesting. Well, somewhere in there you made the step over to USAC or started running with them more regularly. When about was that?
You know, we just dabbled a little bit for the first 3 or 4 years, really. I just run 1 or 2, 5 maybe races with USAC a year. I think my first one was like probably 1990, maybe 89 or 90 was my first USAC race, and then
It's a long time ago.
the early ones then started owning my race car in 92, and we started doing some more racing. They bought a pavement sprint car for us, and we did a little bit of pavement racing until I crashed it, tore it up too. Too bad to repair. So you know, really 95 or so was my first full USAC. You know, quite a bit of USAC racing.
Do you remember your first USAC victory?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I guess you don't forget that one, do you?
No.
That's a big deal.
I was like 26 years old, I believe, by the time
Oh, you're an old man by the time you got there.
Yep, I was an old man by the time I won my first USAC race. I was 19 when I won my first sprint car race, but it wasn't a USAC show. So I was 26, I think, by the time I won my first.
And that was
USAC
where?
Sprint car show at Terre Haute.
Okay. Wow.
Holman Classic at Terre Haute.
Holman Classic?
Yep.
Cool. So that's a heck of a one to win for your first one.
It is.
Such a rich history and tradition there at the hut.
Sure is, being you know, the racetrack itself and then the name on the race, but being the Holman Classic was you know, we got a 30-30 Winchester rifle as the trophy for winning that.
You still have it?
I do. Never been shot.
Just looking at your USAC numbers, are you still at, is it 62 feature wins in the USAC Sprint Car Series?
Yes.
So your numbers really are incredible. You're the all-time USAC Sprint Car feature winner, and you look even at the top 10 list on that, you know, you're now ahead of Tom Bigelow, Indy 500 veterans, Tracy Hine, Jack Hewitt's right up there. Larry Dixon has 45, Pancho Carter, Gary Bettenhausen, yet you're at the very top. That's incredible in itself. And I look beyond that, and I think you have 30 USAC National Midget Series victories. Is that number still true?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and 14 USAC Silver Crown Champ Car victories?
Yeah.
So that puts you at 106 victories overall, if I added it right. And that, I think AJ Foyt is still the all-time USAC winner. Many of those IndyCar victories, some of them may have been kart after USAC went to kart. I'm not sure, but he's somewhere around 138-ish, maybe somewhere up in there. Rich Vogler somewhere around 135. It could be off one or two here. Mel Kenyon at 111.
Right.
All midgets. And Dave Darland in fourth at 106. I think, I don't know that there's someone else in there that has won. I mean, you're in the top 5 of all-time USAC sprint car, or not sprint car, but USAC wins overall with Foyt, Vogler, and Mel Kenyon. That's incredible to me. Does it seem incredible to you?
Yeah, it does. I mean, especially as you know from where I came from, you know, Lincoln, Indiana, up there where there's nothing, and you know, for me and my dad to start my racing career together as just you know, piecing together a race car was it is incredible for me to think back and those numbers you just mentioned, and that I've been able to accomplish that. It's taken me a long time. Luckily, I've had a long career at it, but it's been a long, successful career, and it is humbling to me to hear you, or you know, realize the story on them numbers, because of, you know, like I said, I started slow, didn't win my first USAC race till I was 26 years old, and it's been going well ever since, though.
Yeah, it's not like you've been packing them in there since you were 18 like they do now, you know. I mean, they're so much younger now, but
Most
I
of my
mean,
wins even came when I was even in my late 40s. I mean,
that's really interesting.
13, 14, and 15, the years 13, 14, and 15, I drove for the Phillipses, and we had 17 USAC sprint car feature wins in them 3 years for driving for that team, and I was, you know, 46, 47, 48 years old in them years. So
And are you 54 now?
54.
54. You look really good. I'm telling you. I see a youthful man who's got a lot of gas left in the tank. Do you feel like you're as sharp as you were 10 years ago? Do you find yourself taking less risks on track anymore? Where are you at?
Yes and no on all that stuff. I mean, I do find myself taking a little bit less risk. Obviously, you know, I've crashed and hurt myself a few times. I don't want to do that no more.
No.
But I still have the desire, really, the drive. But you know I don't take the risk like I used to. But I don't have. I'd say that I'm almost still 100% drive, but I have lost a little bit.
Yeah.
But, you know, the competition these days too is so good.
And the money and equipment you're up against.
Yeah.
I mean, money anymore really does win races.
Sure does. Yeah, you got to have you got to spend a lot of money to have the equipment to be able to win races. It takes a lot of money, a lot nice equipment, and a lot of, you know, a whole team around you to make all that happen. So.
Yeah, and in addition to your numbers, I mean, while we're at it, I mean, they are incredible to me. All-time USAC sprint car feature winner.
That's Tom Bigelow too. For that.
I know.
He was the leader when I
That's a
passed.
huge deal. And Jack Hewitt. You know, and I think there's only been like a half dozen drivers ever to win in all three of, or to be a champion and win in all three of USAC's top tier divisions: the sprint cars, the national midgets, and the champ cars, the Silver Crown cars, which you have done. The '97 Silver Crown Series champion. I know you were the '99 sprint car national champion, and back-to-back with national midget championships in '01 and '02. We should point out Indiana Sprint Week champion '01 and '07, inducted into the National Hall of Fame in 2017. This to me is a really, really big deal. And do you ever, like, I don't mean to blow this up too much, but do you reflect on that in your career a lot and have to pinch yourself? Did I do all that?
It is amazing that I have been able to accomplish all that. And I've never really been with a steady team either for very long.
I know you've jumped around like a jackrabbit.
Yeah, I jump around. I don't even know why, but I've jumped around. But I've driven for every team that has existed. But you know, the only one that I spent a lot of time with was, you know, the Silver Crown car with Galen Fox. I drove for him for a long time, and you know, Steve Lewis also with the Midget. I drove for him for 6 or 8 years. But sprint car wise, I've jumped around from team to team and ride to ride. Seemed like every year or two, something happens where I gotta find something else, and you know, that's still even the case today. We're
Sure.
always trying to find something to drive.
Did you